This is where I departed from everything I had known about architecture before this. Not only was the general contractor oftentimes treated as the adversary in my world, but the subcontractors too were also my adversaries, because they were always trying to skate by something that we had drawn and do things in a cheaper or a lesser costly way, and affording themselves the return on doing it that way. So what we would do, though, is turn that around and say we are missing the incorporation of a component of the project that architects fail to recognize. We have a meeting. At the end of the working drawing phase, we'll have a meeting in a room like this, and we'll invite as many subcontractors from the community that we can. We have a questionnaire that goes out to the ministry. Who do you know? Who are you related to? Who are the suppliers in your community? Maybe they're sitting in the room and they go to that church. We've had electrical contractors come directly from the church. Sometimes they raise their hands and say, I want to donate all the electrical. Okay, well, let's talk, because we don't want to bankrupt you in the process. But we want to have an intelligent discussion. We talk around three things. The first thing is we want somebody from the ministry group to get up there and bring them across the bridge. Bring them to the inside of the project. Tell them in less than 5 minutes who you are and why you're doing the project, what benefit is it bringing to your ministry. Okay, so you're telling them the purpose behind the project. This is not an altar call. We are not saying to them, bow your heads, raise up your hands, come to the front while the organ plays. We're not doing that. We are bringing them to the inside of the project, though, by telling them the core purpose behind the project. The second thing that we're going to do is we want the general contractor to lead a discussion about the bones of the project. These are the systems we're anticipating. This is the schedule we've been thinking about. This is the budget for the project. Share the budget with the subs. Well, we can't share the budget with the subs because then they'll know what our number is. It doesn't matter. They're going to base their bids not based on your budget number. They're going to base their bids on reality, right? But you're sharing with them information they typically don't have access to, because now they're on the inside of the project. They haven't bid it yet, by the way. Nobody's put a number out. The third thing we tell them is, we know that you know more about your trade than we as designers will ever know about your trade. You as a sheetrocker know more about sheetrock than my guys who draw stud partitions all day long will ever know about sheetrock. You as an HVAC guy will know more about putting ductwork up in the air than my engineers will ever know about putting ductwork up in the air. We are not being gratuitous. We are telling them something they already know, but nobody in their entire careers will acknowledge. The subcontractors are the bottom feeders to the architect. And we are saying to them, we know you have labor, we know you have the ability to supply the project, but we want access to your thinking on the project. Would you take our plans, and if this was your building, how would you have done it? By the way, we're not talking about price yet. We haven't bid it. All we're talking about is the idea stage. Would you be willing, in the form of a question, would you be willing to come back to us and talk to us about what you see on these plans? We are open for your best thinking. By the way, what makes you money? How can we enrich you on this project? How can you be blessed here? What you're doing to them is you're saying to them, convey to us ahead of establishing your bid what the ideal circumstances look like for you in order to make the most amount of money. What they're doing is they're setting up circumstances to also get their price adjusted to where it can be tolerable for you. They're bringing value to you. So 2 weeks hence we have meetings, 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock, 8 o'clock, site work, site utilities, earthwork guys, bulldozers, concrete people. Next meeting we have HVAC, fire sprinkler, plumbers in there. Next meeting, electrical, low voltage systems, alarms, security, so on and so forth, telephone systems. Next meeting, exterior finish systems. Next meeting, interior finish systems. And we're just taking input. Sometimes we have to prime the pump, but these meetings go on throughout the day with the owner, with the contractor, with the architect present, and we are just taking notes. We are writing things down. And we are asking them, what do you think about this? We are not guaranteeing anybody that we're going to take their ideas. But we have all kinds of good ideas that come out. I was telling you, Ryan, about the one that we did over in northern Kentucky in Frankfurt here a year or so ago. This is a group that we invited these folks in to talk. We had a masonry contractor show up. A guy from eastern Appalachia, and my family's from northern Kentucky, so I speak a little Kentucky. I had no idea what this man was saying. I could not understand. He kept talking about brick ties, for those of us that speak English in a different way. And he said, we don't use those brick ties. And I said, what is the deal behind, in fact, Ron, you were in that meeting. What is the deal behind the brick ties? And he said, these brick ties are $3 a piece. Remember that? $3 a piece. Oh, okay, well, what do you want to do? Well, we don't use these because they're seismic brick ties. I live in a seismic world. We're not in a seismic area. That's Western Kentucky. What do you use? Well, we use these and they're $1.25. Oh, okay, well, we can do that. We save $1.75. Great. There's 30,000 of them. Oh, bingo. Now, all of a sudden, 30,000 times $1.75. I can do that math. That paid for my flight, I can tell you, and then some. That is really good information before a price gets established. That's really good information from a guy that, in my world, didn't even speak English. But he knew brick ties. That is the kind of stuff that we can get from subcontractors that most projects do not afford themselves that kind of interaction. And it's because it's set up in a way that will lead to us ministering to them. At the end of the day, you can't minister to somebody if you don't have a respectful relationship. If you have an antagonistic relationship, the way that I have throughout my career, I could no more have gone onto the job site to minister to the people that were building my church back when I bankrupted the general contractor than I could have talked to an Islamic nation. They're not going to hear me. I was the enemy. They're there in this situation now, and they're on the same team offering ideas and suggestions, and they've been afforded value. They'll offer suggestions on life cycle costing, things that we don't know about. Subs and suppliers are usually on the front lines of this. Architects are on the back lines. They're the ones that have been trained by people in the 40s and the 50s and the 60s and the 70s, and now the young guys being trained by guys like me who are trained in the 70s and the 80s and the 90s. They've learned how to do it 20 years ago, from 20 years ago. These are people that are on the front lines of this stuff, bringing us new information about things like ionization units to avoid putting 15 cubic feet per minute of fresh air into a building. Now we put an ionization in there for $1,200, an ionization unit in the ductwork, and we don't have to bring 15 cubic feet of treated fresh air into a building because that cleanses the air. Mechanical engineers don't specify those kinds of things. Code officials don't even know about it. We have to train the code officials. And these are subs that are bringing this information to us. Just tremendous values when it comes to that. We have this supply organization that I told you about. That's another thing. We can bring value in that area. If you've got a way to do it better, if you've got an HVAC guy that provides a train unit that's a good unit that we like, that's going to stand the test of time, let's do that. And by the way, if he can get those prices on a national basis, will he be our national supplier? Because we like that. But that's the concept of getting people around the table and getting people who know these things to move these things forward. So whether they be, we don't deal in things like sheetrock and concrete and bricks. Those are all provided locally. Those are commodity items that we're best negotiating locally. We've had some tremendous gift in kind opportunities with those kinds of things. Remember the Grace Somerset project when we did that one and so-and-so's cousin went down to the batch plant and had a meeting and the guy said, we'll give you $100,000 worth of concrete. Nobody realized we only had $103,000 worth of concrete on the job. And he gave us $100,000 worth of concrete. So we have those kinds of opportunities. But for the things that are normally done off-site and brought in, we can bring tremendous values to those things. Which leads us to this whole notion of ministry. Is now you have relationships built that are respectful relationships that allow us to move forward, to do things and create identity with these folks that are way different. They're there to hear us. First of all, be hospitable to them. Bring some food out. Thank them. Food goes a long, long way. Food is like oil, right? It keeps things going. It keeps things going. And you know, we've had some tremendous things. I remember sitting in Orlando, Florida. Somebody in the church had a Kentucky Fried Chicken franchise and brought Kentucky Fried Chicken on the job site on the day that the inspector from Orlando City showed up. And the inspector had been tough. She shows up and comes in and says, what is this lunch? This is for anybody that's here on this day to enjoy, and will you join us? Really? Yeah. I mean, she was hungry. She sat down, she enjoyed lunch. She said, what is this church? How come they're doing this? They're just thanking the guys for being on the job site and and they're just thanking them. This is just something that this church feels that is important. I can't believe this. I've never been fed on a job site. I mean, she was kind of blown away by this whole thing. She said, well, I got to know more about this. And I said, well, Jeff Taylor's over there. Jeff came over and talked to her for a few minutes. She showed up to Sunday services. It happened to be Easter that next week. I was there on a Tuesday. Easter was the next Sunday. She showed up with her teenage son, divorced mom, antagonistic father who was going after the family. She got involved in a counseling program. She accepted Christ, our inspector, because somebody brought some Kentucky Fried Chicken onto the job site. Pretty good deal. Pretty good deal. Get the little ones to thank them. Sunday mornings, have them make out thank you cards. These guys will melt when you hand them a thank you card. This is good stuff. This is ministering to these guys. Bring the kids out. Teach them what ministry looks like when they wash the trucks of these guys that come onto the job site. They have never been treated this way, and they expect the worst from you because you're a church. I don't know what to tell you. We did a project in South Carolina. They were doing a university project, 88,000 square foot rec center. The president of the university says, I don't think you understand. We're the Bible Belt. Everybody's a Christian down here. This isn't going to work. The very first week, we figured out that 3 guys on the excavation team, 3 itinerant workers, were sleeping in the bushes on the university campus because they didn't have a place to go. So the people in the dorms figured out a way to rally around these 3 guys, got them an apartment for 4 months, the duration that they were on doing excavation on that project, and set them up with a place to live in their community for 4 months. This is ministry. This is who we are. We're the light of Christ. Let's figure out a way to do this. They will give you the best of what they have. They're on the inside now. Pray for them. Let them know you're praying for them. It's very awkward. I said to a steel guy, we're praying for you. He said, pray that my wife leaves me. I can't pray that. I can't pray that your wife leaves you, but I can pray for a restored marriage. It's awkward. I get that. But at the end of the day, we can do these kinds of things. Bring the people out, let them do these kind of things.